Have you ever wondered how professional players become professional players? Picture this. You wake up every day, turn on your console or PC, and load into Fortnite. You check the Compete tab, scroll to the most recent FNCS Major Grand Finals event, click on it, and at the top, you see a familiar name. Yours. While I just guided you through this fantasy, I can also guide you to that reality if you follow the tips I'm going to lay out for you in this video. My name is T Church, a professional coach, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys 7 tips to help you go pro in Chapter 5. Alright guys, so for today's first topic, we're going to be talking about practice quality versus practice quantity. And I'm putting this topic at the top because I think it's an extremely crucial thing for people to understand. If you put 100 repetitions towards a set skill, but you're not focused on improving that skill, someone who has done 10 repetitions with intense focus on identifying and correcting mistakes they notice they're making will likely be better than you at that particular thing. This ties in with a couple of other tips I'm going to give later on in the video, but the best thing that you can do to make sure your practice quality is as good as it can be is to do the following. Number one, you need to find friends that have an improvement mindset, discuss the aspects of your game that you want to get better at, and then practice those individual scenarios, and that mostly applies just to creative. Now, number two is going to be to play the scrim ladders and check the leaderboard to track your placements. So the benefit here is actually going to be twofold. So often when you're playing scrims, there's not really a prize other than bragging rights or a sense of accomplishment or pride. This causes a lot of people to not really take scrims too seriously a lot of the times. And ironically, this actually causes their own practice quality to suffer because they are focused on how unrealistic and boring the games are as opposed to practicing the things that they know that they suck at. So that's something that's extremely important, and paying attention to the leaderboard and setting goals for yourself for each scrim session is going to be a great way to increase your practice quality because it'll give you something to actually focus on during the session instead of just going out there aimlessly and just trying to play the game. Now, when you're focused and locked in and taking the game serious and trying to do your best, it will naturally make better practice for everyone else, which in turn makes the entire region better. So over time, you'll actually get better practice as you improve, as the region improves, etc., etc. Just make sure that you guys have a goal for everything that you do going into practice. And this is going to be one of the easiest ways to ensure that you're getting good quality practice and getting repetitions that are actually going to help make you better. All right, so for our second concept today, I wanted to talk a little bit about time management. So understanding how to manage your time is a crucial piece of succeeding in any part of your life. From start to finish, if you want to gain the most efficient progress possible, you need to have a plan for everything you're going to do each day. To put together a good daily routine, you want to make sure that you're focusing on your priorities first. So school, work, relationships. You need to make sure that those things are handled and that you can manage those things properly. After that, we can talk about Fortnite, and a benefit of this as well, making sure that we focus on getting our priorities out of the way first, means that when we do sit down to play the game, we can fully focus on what's going on in front of us. We can fully focus on the game without having any additional stress from things that we may be trying to avoid in our real life or in our personal life, right? So make sure you're focusing on your priorities first. Now, when you do get on the game, guys, you want to make sure that you have a general idea of what you're going to be working on that day. You do want to make sure that you prioritize scrims over pretty much anything else, because the more reps that you can get in competitive practice lobbies, the better you're going to be at making, general micro decisions. And then there's also, small opportunities that will help you learn how to fight, which you can then take your mistakes from scrims, you can hit the VODs, and you can go into creative and you can practice the things that you did wrong in scrims that day, right? So this is kind of how you're going to start to develop those daily routines, daily schedules, start to kind of introspect and take a look at yourself and figure out what you need to work on, and that will help you figure out what you need to focus on in creative. Now, like I said in the previous section where we were talking about time management, knowing how to VOD review, how to identify your mistakes is crucial, right? So step number 3, you're going to want to learn how to VOD review, and you're going to want to practice VOD reviewing. You need to practice identifying mistakes. You need to practice learning things. A good way to actually practice VOD reviewing is to VOD review yourself and your friends, and then also have your friends look at your footage and give you kind of critiques on what they think. And that way you can start to develop different thought processes. You can see how different people interpret the information in front of them in the game, and it's a great way for you to start learning yourself. You just want to make sure that when you do this, you're doing it with people that are approximately on your skill level so that you guys can learn and grow together. I think one of the biggest issues that people have when they start to VOD review is that they don't really know what to look at or what to look for. A lot of times having a lot of different people in the same call doing this together will kind of help you debate those issues, because you have multiple different perspectives going on all at the same time, right? The best way to know what to look for as well, guys, is like focusing on deaths first, right? Like focus on the things that are very like obvious mistakes, and then as you go on and you continue to watch, you continue to learn, the mistakes that you're making get ever smaller, as in they're not as egregious mistakes, or they're not as obvious that it's going to instantly get you killed. You'll start to be able to pick up on those, and the rate at which you learn will accelerate, right? Something you guys really need to understand is this general concept of what kind of mistakes are you making. Are these mistakes kind of in the moment micro decisions that you're getting you killed, or are they things that your strategy is not built to properly handle, right? So the first question is going to be related to micro mistakes, while the second is related to macro mistakes. And so differentiating between the two is extremely important, because while most micro mistakes will require repetitions to fix, most macro mistakes can be fixed with a bit of critical thinking and doing boring work, right? So looking at VODs, doing game planning, sitting on Fortnite.gg, loading up into private lobbies and running through different scenarios in your head kind of on air, right? Like that's the boring work. That's the work that a lot of people don't want to do, but that is the work that I myself as a coach, and I know multiple other professional players will do, because it allows you to get into the mindset and see the things that you'll actually need to be interacting with in competitive games in order to succeed. Learning how to VOD review, extremely important, guys. Make sure that you start doing it, even if you feel like you have no idea what's going on. Even if you do feel like you know what's going on, or you feel like you need a little bit of extra help identifying mistakes, maybe you feel stuck, that is also when you guys could get a coach, right? Coaches are very invaluable when it comes to VOD reviewing, because we do spend a lot of time doing that, trying to learn even the smallest of things to help the players that we coach. So for our fourth tip here, guys, this is a tip that actually comes from the European Pro iDrop. And he says one of his biggest regrets during the early days of playing Fortnite, especially going pro, was that he didn't take everything seriously. I think that there should be a period of time each day where you're taking everything seriously. Play scrims to win the game. You should also be practicing where, you know, maybe you're putting yourself in adverse situations or whatever. But at the end of the day, you're still doing the best that you can to win the game. You're not trolling. You're not making like really stupid decisions. And you're trying to learn as much as you can. But I also think that at some point during the day, there needs to be a bit of fun involved, right? You need to have an element of fun in playing the game. It's extremely important because it helps prevent you from getting burnt out. And burnout's another topic that I've covered in another video, which you guys can find the link below. You know, burnout is one of the things that actually drives esports athletes to quit pursuing the career in the long run, simply because to get to the highest level, there is a lot of stress. It's a lot of demand. You know, your income especially is based on your performance. So it can also be an extremely toxic work environment. All these things are massive contributors to starting to experience the symptoms of burnout. So it's very important that, you know, we're making sure that we can still treat Fortnite like the game that it is, and we can still have fun with it from time to time. Now, if I'm being really honest with you guys, I feel like this next tip kind of goes without saying, but you should be playing scrims a lot, like a lot, right? So, and a lot of you that watch this video should know what scrims are. But for those of you that don't, I'm going to go ahead and explain real quick, and I'll give a couple of examples to scrim servers that I think are good, especially for players that are on the come up and they're trying to establish themselves as, you know, good competitive players, right? So scrims are dedicated competitive practice. They're held in custom lobbies. Custom lobbies do require a custom matchmaking code in order to access, and this is where the Discord servers come in, right? So the Discord servers will host generally through some sort of hosting service, whether that be Unite or War Legend, etc. And what they'll end up doing is they'll put out a custom code. You load it, you put in the custom code, you queue into this match, and then you are playing in a lobby against other people who are agreeing to abide by the same rules as you, right? The idea is to try to have as many players make it to the end game as possible so that the games remain quote unquote stacked, which just means there's a lot of players alive, and the games become extremely competitive, right? So In a lot of the lower tier lobbies, zone rules are used to keep the game stacked, which generally means that you can't fight or even shoot players until a certain zone is revealed. These do work in the lower tier servers. They do keep the games particularly stacked, and they are actually good in-game practice to use. So you should definitely be playing these. In North America, this is going to be scrim servers like Manu Opens for North America Central. This is going to be the North America Open server that used to feed into the former professional practice server. As well as FBL scrims. Now, FBL doesn't really host nearly as much as the other two servers, but the other two servers do run daily zone rule scrims, and sometimes NA Open will even run scrim ladders without any zone rules. Now, the Manu scrims for NA Central does run in a ladder format every single day. There's 12 games, and it does feed into Vital scrims. So, and now Vital scrims is going to be the kind of the premier practice for North America. You do have to kind of earn your way there, either by being in the top 1,000 for North America PR or by qualifying to at least a round 2 of FNCS within the past year. These are very, very good scrim servers. This is where you're going to get the best practice possible for you guys to start practicing competitive games and to start honing your skills and getting better. But you should be playing these scrims as much as possible, as getting into these in games and getting these repetitions is going to be extremely important for you to start to build the skills necessary in order to place well in tournaments. All right, so next up, guys, you're going to want to learn how to prioritize your improvement. Now, what exactly do I mean by this? When most players play the game, they'll mostly just follow along with whatever their friends are doing or settle into a routine that is comfortable for them. Now, while having a routine is good, routines quickly become stale and need to be changed. Very similar to working out in the gym, if you do not consistently change and adapt to target your weakest points, you will stagnate in a skill, and that often quickly leads to experiencing the mental and physical conditions known as burnout. And again, I talked about that in the previous tip. You can find the video link down below. How do you identify weak points? Well, surprisingly, this is the easiest part. All you need to do is play 6 to 10 games of scrims or ranked, identify the common patterns that cause you to die, and brainstorm ideas to fix those mistakes or issues. Then you want to practice these solutions to see if they actually work. And if they do, practice in creative or any applicable game mode for at least a week. And if you find these issues to still be present after a week, continue until you have the individual skill mastered. So if you continue this process over the long term, I can guarantee you will see the fastest possible improvement. And I know because these are the exact methods that I use to coach players. For my last tip, guys, basically this is meta related. I was just talking about how to identify the meta and what to do afterwards. So basically each new season that's released always is going to bring with it new items, map features, sometimes even new mechanics that encompass an ever-changing meta, right? So mantling, sprinting, those kinds of things definitely will change the way that the game plays, changes the meta. I know when tag sprinting got included back in early chapter 3, it really opened up certain types of rotates in games that are still used even to this day. They're extremely powerful for saving materials in the first moving. But yeah, so those type of things will change the meta. You want to learn those things as early as possible and to try to get ahead of other players within the individual seasons. Now, but in case you guys don't know what the meta is, meta is simply the best strategies or items that give you the best chance of winning an individual game or tournament. For example, the Grim Medallion this season, extremely powerful. It is the meta medallion simply because the use of the 0-point dash in a no mobility meta is extremely valuable, and it allows whatever team that controls that to have a massive advantage over anyone else in the lobby. Now, aside from things that are meta reliant, you're going to have your fundamentals. So these are just the different things that basically never change. These are the things that stay constant within Fortnite. Things like building, editing, aiming, knowing how to rotate, learning rotation timings, all that kind of stuff is going to be fundamental to playing Fortnite. And these are the things that you can practice regardless of meta. You can practice and focus on them regardless of what's going on around you in the individual season, right? Because they never ever change. So after you finish learning the meta, you need to figure out what do you struggle with the most fundamentally, which everybody can find that all the way all the way down the ladder, all the way up to the top of the food chain, where you're sitting first place in FNCS, right? Like nobody wins 12 out of 12 games. It's never been done before. And even if somebody did win 12 out of 12 games, I can almost guarantee you that they still made individual mistakes within those games that they would need to practice to be perfect, right? We're human beings. We're never going to be perfect, but we're going to, we're going to chase perfection. We're going to work towards that in hopes that we can become great. All right, guys. So this is what I mean by learn the meta and then focus on growth.